What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode number 6 as we welcome you back into Inside the Schooners. John Leuzzi here once again as the host. And today we got Coach Ray Guarino, an assistant bench coach for Phil Orby this season. Coach, welcome to the podcast finally.
Thanks for having me, John.
Absolutely. Well, you're in your second season with the Schooners on the coaching staff, but right now we are recording on an off day here in July before the team begins a 4-game road trip tomorrow, Thursday, July 7th at Martha's Vineyard. But so let's go from here right now. We're halfway through the season. What are you enjoying about this season so far?
I think every day is a little bit different. You get to know these guys. They come in from all different parts of the country, all different states, representing their institutions. And it's just, it's a lot of fun to get to know them as people and baseball players. I would consider myself really lucky.
Absolutely. Well, the team has won 5 out of their last 6 games going into today's off day. They're playing good baseball here in the month of July. What have you thought that has led to the success from the coaching staff side of things?
Yeah, we were talking last night after the game, and Coach Long said, thinks that we're really starting to gel, where really putting tough at-bats together and limiting our strikeouts. Last night we struck out 6 times compared to, I don't remember which game it was last week, but there were 15 strikeouts. And one thing I learned from Coach Stuper a long time ago was to put the ball in play and put pressure on the other team's defense. And I think that's something that we've been doing lately, been doing a better job at that. The first week or so, we were really running the bases and stealing at a pretty good clip. I think that's something that we need to get back to. Again, putting a lot of pressure on the other team's defenses is a recipe for success for us.
Well, as all the Schooner fans know, this year we're playing at Dodd Stadium. We've talked about it a lot here on the podcast. For you, being a baseball lover and a game for coaching it, what has that been like for you, coaching in a historic ballpark here in Connecticut?
Growing up in Connecticut, I've always known of Dodd Stadium. It's always been probably the jewel of a natural surface that we have here in Connecticut. Coming here compared to playing at Fitch High School, dimensions are a little bit different. So playing a little bit of small ball and being able to put the ball in play and steal bases compared to hitting a home run, you got to really get it to hit it there. You hit one there, you really earned it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll get into a little bit of your coaching history here now, as that's why we have you on the podcast today. So how did you originally get into coaching, Coach?
It was a long time ago now. Buddy of mine that was working a Yale camp that I was working at took over the foreign high school head coaching job in Milford and asked me to join his staff. That was back in 97, 98 maybe. Was there for a few years, moved over to my high school, West Haven High School. Was there for a few years, ended up winning a state championship in 2009. And then Coach Stuper asked me to join his staff at Yale. Wasn't sure I was ready for that, to make that kind of a leap. But it was a really good coaching decision that I made. Joining that staff and joining Coach Stuper's staff, I can't say enough of the person that Coach Stuper is to me and what he means to me, but just the things that I've learned working with him and his assistants have just been awesome. Things that I could take away that are baseball things, that are life lessons that I get to pass on to players now. It's a really cool fraternity that I've been a part of.
Well, that brings us in a great transition into the next topic. You spent 2010 to 2021 at Yale in New Haven, and as a volunteer assistant on that Yale Bulldog team. And you just helped lead that program to a program record 34 wins in 2017, and then a pair of Ivy League titles as well. So what are some great memories during your time on that staff?
First and foremost, the players, just some of the players and the parents, the connections and networking that I have through my time at Yale is just, just doesn't happen at most institutions. Yale, Harvard, the Ivy League schools, the NESCAC schools, but Yale really is a special place. It was for me for those 12 years, minus the COVID years. 2017 really was a special year for Yale baseball. 34 wins, a school record. Going to Corvallis in the regional and getting to experience that. President Bush, the father, President 41 Bush, was a Yale captain, and watched every game and every inning that we played in that regional, and was so impressed with the way that we played, and invited us to his house in Kennebunkport, Maine. That right there, going to his house, sitting in his living room, talking about baseball, talking about New Haven pizza. It was just, like I said, that's not something that happens at most colleges.
That's awesome, and that's a great memory. Well, here with the Schooners now in the last 2 years, you've been able to now coach former players that you coached at Yale. Just to name a few: Ben Gibbs, Rohan Honda, Jimmy Chatfield this year, Ben Menser, Mason LaPlante, and Reed Easterly. So for you, what has that been like, just to recreate those times with these players and see how they have developed on the baseball field, both as players and as human beings?
I think that's one of the greatest joys of coaching, is to see these guys grow up and mature into men and go on with their lives and see what they do. With the guys that we have this year, Reed and Jimmy and Ben now that joined us late. When I was still at Yale, that was the time where COVID hit and really didn't get a chance to coach them or get to know them really. That was a shortened season in 2020, and then 2021 was the Ivy League canceled. So really, this is the first time that I get to coach these guys and be in the dugout with them on a full-time basis, and learning what everybody said about these guys as people and players was spot on. It's really cool to be able to rekindle that and kind of have a little homecoming with those three.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move back into the Schooners now. Second year, you're on the bench for Coach Orby. This year, you're coming back and coaching the first baseline for the team. So take us through a little bit of what you do leading up to game day, and then on game day in general, Coach, if you will.
Dennis and I will flip-flop between pre-game batting practice and getting the infielders ready for their game. And as any of them will tell you, having a routine at this level is so vital to being able to play and put a good product on the field. So pre-game is one thing, and then during the game, obviously coaching first base, but more importantly, helping Coach Orby with the positioning of the defense and bunt coverages and the first and thirds, and just being able to have another set of eyes to see something that may not be seen by everybody else. I mean, things happen so quickly that if you don't speak up right away, the pitch comes and that opportunity to do something is past us. And having being in this environment for as long as I have been now, it's like second nature. You see things and they happen, and you see things happening before they happen, which is really, really cool.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, you ready to play some rapid fire?
Go ahead.
All right, let's go into rapid fire here. Go to pregame music when heading to a game.
For myself.
For yourself.
Oh boy, classic rock.
All right, cool. Any specific artist or just all in general?
I'm gonna go Led Zeppelin.
All right, I like that. Do you have any pregame superstitions?
I get dressed the same way. Wear basically the same thing every day. My wife will tell me that I'm crazy for wearing the amount of layers that I do wear, but t-shirt, 3/4 sleeve, and then the pullover.
That's great. And then favorite baseball player growing up?
Don Mattingly.
Okay, why about him?
Just seemed like hard-nosed, played the game the right way. In retrospect, you look back and as you learn more about these guys, I think it was a pretty good decision.
That's cool. And then guilty pleasure or go-to movie of your choice if you were given an opportunity?
I'll go movie, Good Will Hunting.
I like that one. That's a good one. That's a classic. If you were given a one-way ticket to a place of your choice, where are you going?
Key West.
Okay. Down in Florida.
Not too far.
This one might get you in a little bit of a trouble with the coaching staff, but we'll still ask. Of all three other coaches, so Coach Orby, Coach Long, and Coach Trottier, who do you think you can strike out on the mound?
Sorry, Trot.
Pitching coach. All right. That's interesting. Funny. And you being a teacher during the school year, you teach history and all. What is your favorite history class that you've taken?
Oh, geez. U.S. history at Southern Connecticut with Dr. Lewis House. He just made history enjoyable. Everyone says it's boring. He brought it to life. And one of the reasons why you go into the profession is to make teaching enjoyable, make it fun. Especially history, where people think it's boring. It's just learning facts. If you bring it to life and you are excited about it, the students see that and they kind of feed off of that.
That's awesome. And then if you had to pick a player to start an MLB franchise around, who would you pick? David Ortiz, Roy Halladay, John Schmaltz, or Frank Thomas?
Wow. Whew. I guess I will go with Schmaltz. Start with the guy on the bump.
All right. So you go all of them are Hall of Famers. So that's a pretty tough question there for you. But Coach, that is all the time for Rapid Fire. Appreciate you coming on the podcast today.
John, I appreciate you having me. We'll see you on the Vineyard tomorrow.
Yes, Vineyard tomorrow. Schooners will play at 7:05 at the Shark Tank against the Martha's Vineyard Sharks. You can watch that game right on the NECBL Broadcast Network. Jacob Irons will be on the call, and we'll all have all of our social media content as well on the handles just below here on the podcast. Coach, appreciate it again.